Hey everybody, Andy Cavernan here with another Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. I wonder, do you ever get hot? Now, I don't mean like hot as in it's 90 degrees outside and I'm hot. I mean like hot under the collar. Do you ever get angry? I look back on my life and there are moments in time that I'm not particularly proud of where I've gotten angry about different things. And as I consider those times where I've become angry, I've noticed a pattern. Usually when anger gets the best of me, it's because somehow I've had a perceived notion that my rights have been violated, my personal rights, and whether that's the right to be comfortable, a perceived right anyway, whether it's the right to be respected or heard or whatever it is. I've gotten angry when I felt like my rights have been violated. James talks about anger in chapter 1, verses 19 and 20, and he says this. He says, "My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires." Even if I have a legitimate case that my rights have been violated, anger is not the answer, is it? Anger is not productive in that instance. It doesn't produce the kind of righteousness that God desires. Now that's true, but it begs a question for me. Is there ever an instance where anger is justified, where it's actually righteous to be angry? Well, I contend that the answer is yes. And I'm going to take us to another passage. Let's go to Psalm 119, verse 53. And here, David writes of being angry at people or at situations where the law of God is violated. Listen to this. He says in 53 of chapter 119, he says, "Indignation grips me because of the wicked who have forsaken your law." I'm indignant when I look around me and there's wickedness and people are forsaking the law of God. It seems to me that anger is warranted when God's law is violated. Now, I think it's often true that as Christians, we get angry when God's law is violated. We get angry when we see bad things happening around us, particularly when they affect us, don't we? But I wonder, which laws do we get angriest about being violated? Do we pick and choose, or do we get angry at the whole thing? See, Jesus described the law of God summed up in two statements. It's in the Great Commandment. He said, you're to love your neighbor as yourself, and you're to love your God with your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And it reminds me of sort of a summary passage from the Old Testament, Micah chapter 6, where the prophet Micah says this. He says, "He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." Friends, I wonder how often we get angry about some things related to justice and related to mercy, but not others. Many of us that are watching this live up here in the upper Midwest, in central Wisconsin, and it's a beautiful place, and it's an insulated place, and that's good in many ways. But we're insulated from a number of the pressing issues of our day, particularly when it comes to racial bias and the racial tensions that exist in some of the major metropolitan areas of the world. I don't know about you, but I'm convicted by this passage that if the Lord requires us to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with our God, and if there is a righteous anger that is justified biblically, I wonder how often you and I pick which things we're angry about, and only those things that affect us directly. And I wonder if that righteous indignation that David felt is something that you and I might feel more as we pray about and interact with these issues that many of our co-citizens are facing because they're born in a different place than we are, or they're born with a different color of skin than we have. Church, there are moments where being angry is biblically precedented. It's justified. But let's make sure that we're angry about the things that anger God, frankly. And let's participate with Him in that. And let's lay ourselves down, our own rights. Let's be slow to anger and quick to listen. And let's engage with the things that God cares about. Let's act justly. Let's love mercy as we walk humbly with our God. God bless you, friends. See you soon.